Hi, my name is Elijah Morton. I'm in the MBA program and I'm on the track team.
Hi, I'm Bridget Lyons, the Director of Athletics.
Hi, I'm Byron Mitchell, Assistant Football Coach.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn. I'm on the women's soccer team.
Shenandoah University Athletics is participating this week in the NCAA Diversity and Inclusion social media campaign. It's a week for us to bring about awareness and education about the importance of having an inclusive community on campus. This is something that we focus in on not just this week, but certainly throughout the year. One of the recent initiatives here at Shenandoah has been the Hornet Red Team, which stands for Racial Equity and Diversity. That is a group made up of student athletes as well as coaches and staff. Again, we are looking to them to set the initiative and bring about education within the department on the importance of having an inclusive culture within our athletic department as well as at the university.
Hello, my name is Jessica Porter and I'm the Assistant Athletic Director for Marketing and Promotions.
Jess, as you know, obviously over the summer as a department, we worked on a diversity and inclusion plan for the department and our student athletes. And one of the things that came out of that was the Hornet Red Team. And you played a huge part in creating that group and helping to set the agenda and what that might mean. So can you kind of share a little bit about the Red Team and the makeup of it and what its goals and mission is?
Absolutely, yes. So we were very excited about the Red Team and implementing that at the start of this fall this year. We have a group of 18 individuals and it consists of student athletes, of administrators, coaches, a representative from the Mosaic Center, one of our trainers, sports information director, you name it. If it's associated to athletics, we really wanted to make sure that they were part of this conversation, part of this group, and were helping us initiate positive change in the department and continuing that conversation around racism and about discrimination throughout all campus, being able to continue that conversation. So we have set up our group. We have an executive board and are already starting to implement initiatives, which is so great. We're currently working on a survey to make sure that we hear the voice of all of our different student athletes. So working on that just to make sure that we are listening to their perspective as well and be able to communicate that and use their input as we continue to create new initiatives.
How important has it been to have that student athlete voice that you mentioned within the Red Team? How did that, why is that an important component of this?
So like we were discussing earlier with Elijah, I think that having the student athlete voice really is the catalyst to all of this. It's, the student athlete leaders are the ones that the other student athletes are looking towards for direction and looking up to as mentors, as a more direct relationship than having an administrator or coach. So I think, our president, who is Maya Pensil on the women's soccer team, I think that she has been doing such a great job as a president and is going to start leading our meetings, which I think is really important because she has such a strong voice and is able to communicate what a student athlete is thinking as opposed to what, me as an administrator is thinking that they might be thinking, but more direct relationship. I also think that within our first few meetings, it's been so great to see how conversation has really been so strong in terms of the student athlete participation in those conversations. So they have great ideas and they really want to run with it and vocalize it and They've really been directing us in our meetings, in our agenda items, and coming up with great goals and ideas for our group of Red Team.
How do you think the success of the Red Team will be evaluated at the end of this year? I know it's obviously a new group. Have you set any benchmarks? What are your thoughts in terms of what you would like to achieve in year one?
Right. So we have put in our mission statement, and that is to continue the conversation around racism, to implement initiatives, and to make that a positive cultural change on campus and in the greater community. And I think that being able to, by the end of this year, have a better understanding of what our student athletes want to see and how we can make our campus community more inclusive and make people feel more comfortable, and then initiate different projects, different events that will, be able to satisfy those needs and ultimately create a very positive cultural change on campus. So in terms of identifying how that happens, I think through this survey, being able to put a survey out in the beginning of the year and then being able to put another survey out at the end of the year so that we can understand how we have improved, how we still can improve, but really to get a good response from our student athletes and make sure that they're feeling that positive change and feeling a more diverse and inclusive culture here.
Well, I am so excited for this group, and you're already off to a great start. And I'm certainly looking forward to what happens not just this year, but certainly in the future, and giving student athletes a voice within the department to help us in the areas of diversity and inclusion. With me today, we've got a few folks to ask some questions about diversity on campus and within athletics. I want to start with Byron Mitchell. And Byron is an assistant football coach here and was a former student athlete. So Byron, can you kind of share a little bit about the department and hopefully positive changes that have happened from when you were a student athlete to now as a coach?
Yeah, a lot of great changes have happened. When I was a student here, I definitely felt like, as a student athlete, a football player, the diversity on our team, as far as minorities and other student athletes, non-minorities, there weren't a lot of individuals that looked like me on our football team, and whether that was from recruiting or just retention of minorities on the team, and that number has grown since I was a student athlete here. So I'm really happy to see the number of minorities, just not just on the football team, but in athletics right now. That number has grown exponentially since my time of being a student athlete here. And I also want to say one of the biggest things that I love right now, just love seeing, is teams like the Red Team. We did not have that when I was a student athlete here, and I think it's probably going to be the most important group here on campus when it comes to diversity and inclusion within athletics. It's a team that I don't think that Shenandoah should be the only school that has an organization like that. I think every school could benefit from having a Red Team because diversity and inclusion is important, and I think that athletics is going to show how dominant we can be with a team like that. So just from being a student athlete to being a coach now, I think the biggest thing is just seeing teams like the Red Team develop and grow and help our community here at Shenandoah University.
Elijah, how important is it for the student athletes to have a voice and feel like you're being heard as we make positive steps towards creating more of an inclusive culture on campus?
I think it's super important. I think diversity and inclusion is going to start from the student body. I think as a student athlete, you don't want to go to a university where you don't have a voice. You want to be represented. So I think a student athlete having a voice is very important to diversity and inclusion.
And Jocelyn, what do you feel that your role is as a student athlete, both on the soccer team and obviously within the department? Do you feel a responsibility to have a voice?
Yeah, I feel responsible for having a voice. I think it's always important to step up and stand up for your teammates when you hear wrong, or just in general, just being there, being a voice for them. I just think it's very important.
One of the things that I appreciate is obviously the different programs that the NCAA offers in the areas of diversity and inclusion. And one of those is the immersion program, which selects students to attend the NCAA convention and experience meetings, etc. Elijah, you had that opportunity to attend that a couple of years ago. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and how that influenced you or positively gave you some goals for the future?
Yes, the program was the most eye-opening experience I could say I've ever had in my life. Upon arriving there, I was met by people from the West Coast that live in the middle of the USA. There was a wide variety of people, and throughout the few days I spent with them, I learned so much more about different cultures, different people. I feel like being on the track team, I was pretty culturally aware of many things, but it just goes to show that you can always learn more, always be more inclusive to other people. It was a great experience, and I wish everyone could experience it. But yeah, I would go back again if I could.
Awesome. Byron, what's the importance of us getting the larger community involved in these initiatives?
I think it's extremely important because the more voices that you have, the better, especially during times like this. And I think that not just the Shenandoah community, but the Winchester community as well, there are voices out there that can create change. And in order for us to have change, we need different perspectives. So involving the community as a whole is going to be very important so we can get those perspectives, we can understand one another, and we can grow from one another. I think we sit in this group right here, and there are 4 different individuals from 4 different backgrounds with 4 different mindsets. And the more that we can pick each other's brains a little bit about where you come from, what your life has been like, how life is going right now, I think that's going to create change as a whole. So having the community involved in what we're trying to do here, it's going to be a tremendous step in helping Shenandoah grow when it comes to diversity and inclusion.
Jocelyn, I know you are a cybersecurity major, one of our new majors. I imagine that there aren't a lot of women in that major.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about perhaps sometimes being the only female in the classroom, what that means. Do you consider that, again, you're a trailblazer, so to speak, within that major? How has that experience impacted you?
Right, so since my sophomore year, I literally every single cybersecurity class, I'm the only girl in there. So it's different, but I think it's important to me because I think gender equality, I want to try to be another woman in the force and try to go up in leadership and then eventually have more women feel more welcome into coming into cybersecurity because it's a very needed job. So it's very important to me to try to lessen that gap between gender equality and also being a woman of color. So yeah.
So I actually would like to open up this next question to all of you. Why is it important for us to be having these conversations? Sometimes these conversations are easy conversations regarding diversity and inclusion and the importance of that all. So I kind of, again, open it up to all of you to answer why is it important for us to be doing educating and having conversations on this topic?
I think that from a football perspective, with us having such a large team, we recruit from many different areas. We go as far, I go to Baltimore, I go down to Hampton Roads, we go as far south as Georgia, we grab kids from Pennsylvania. So we're bringing a very large, diverse population from different areas together. And, we're creating a team that's made of different people. And in order for those individuals to really come together as a team, to be a family, we have to learn from one another. We have to have conversations about just, what's been going on in our country in these last couple of months, so we can create an understanding with each other. So I think these conversations amongst the team helps create that team. It helps bring those teams together. So not just with football, but with soccer, with track. The recruiting piece, I think, is important because we're recruiting from so many different backgrounds, so many different areas. I'm bringing a Baltimore kid to play on a team with a Loudoun County kid, two different individuals from two different backgrounds. So having these conversations is going to help those two individuals really work well together, learn from one another, hopefully possibly become lifelong friends, in my opinion. So very important to have these conversations. I think it's vital when it comes to college athletics.
Kind of bouncing off of him, I think like you said, it's important. Like recently, my team, we started meeting like every Sunday as sort of team bonding, and also having like these personal conversations about diversity and what we can do to be better allies and everything. So it's been very like intimate, personal conversations within my teammates that it stays between us, but it also builds our relationships within one another, and also helps us when we're not within our team.
I think it's important to have these conversations because a lot of people are affected differently by things such as inclusion and diversity. So their quality of life could be affected if we're not talking about it. A lot of people don't have the voice that you may have or I may have, or they could be afraid to use it. So I think if we start the conversation and ignite the spark, then that can help a lot of people branch out and learn more about other cultures.
Agree with everything you all have said. Education is a huge piece, right? A lot of times we don't understand. So we need to have these conversations, again, to create that awareness. I know I listened to a webinar recently that said, you want to have a culture within your department where everyone can feel their authentic self, right? That you don't have to hold back and be a different person when you're with your team than you would be in other situations. So certainly that's something we absolutely want to work towards as a department. Talk a little bit about, as an athletic department, I certainly look to our student athletes as well as our coaches to be leaders on campus. So is there a responsibility for athletics to kind of be that strong voice on campus within creating, again, a more inclusive culture, or is that something that should be a shared responsibility across the university?
I think we see it as a shared responsibility. In the same breath, Shenandoah Athletics makes up a large portion of a large part of our school. As far as, we're close to 600 student athletes, which is going to make a large percentage of the student body here. I think all the students on campus look to the student athletes as leaders. I think that the faculty and staff look to these student athletes as leaders as well, and as well as the coaches also. So I think that it's important to keep in mind that it is a collective effort, but also at the same time, as these leaders on campus, we're going to look to our players to set an example, to say and do the right things, to be those leaders when it comes to inclusion and diversity and creating change, not just on our campus of Shenandoah University, but in the Winchester community. We have tremendous student athletes who I think could do amazing things. And when it comes to making change in this country right now, we have the leaders who are going to be able to be the driving force here on Shenandoah University when it comes to diversity and inclusion.
I think, like you said, 600 student athletes, when you look at that's 600 people that have a voice. And when you expand their voice with the friends they have outside of athletics, and you continue down that train, I think it gives the possibility for a wide reach of spreading the message of diversity and inclusion. So I think athletics has a big role to play in spreading that message.
It is a shared responsibility within the whole university, but I do think it kind of does start with us because we make up a majority of the campus. So if it doesn't start here, it's not going to start, if that makes sense.
Jocelyn, as you said, I think the conversation has started. We need to continue this conversation with the Red Team, with other initiatives on campus, with teams like yours that are making an effort to do that on a regular basis. And I know that's happening across campus as well. So again, we've taken a positive step forward. So to wrap up our conversation today, I'd like to ask you all one word that you think of when you think of diversity and inclusion.
The word I think about is a word that I used with my position group over the summer when all of this was, everything was kind of happening with George Floyd and everything, and that word was just love. So we find a way to love one another. I think that creates an understanding for each other. So the word I like to think about is love.
So the word I think of is community, because a lot of different people from different backgrounds and different parts of society make up a community.
For me, my word would have to be acceptance. I think you have to learn to accept everyone for who they are and not who you want them to be. You have to learn to accept that people are going to be different than you, or they could be similar to you. But I think if you just learn to accept everyone, then that's my one word.
The word I would add would be respect, in terms of being respectful and opening and understanding all the words you all have certainly used already, to have that willingness to be educated and open, etc. So that would be my words. I certainly want to thank you all for participating today, appreciate your candid comments, etc. And I certainly look forward to us continuing this conversation and working on initiatives in the area of diversity and inclusion.